If you're selling a property, have you ever thought, environmental shouldn't be a big deal here, nothing bad has ever happened? And then suddenly, the buyer's phase one shows up and the deal starts slowing down or getting more complicated? Today, I want to talk straight to sellers about the 10 most common mistakes we see during a buyer's phase one environmental site assessment. These aren't horror stories. They're small, everyday missteps that quietly cost you leverage, create delays, or open the door to renegotiation. I promise, once you hear these, you'll start seeing phase ones very differently. Hi there, I'm Doug Ruhlin from RMA, your environmental experts. We work with sellers every day who are in active transactions or getting ready to sell. And before we go too far, just know if you ever need a hand preparing for buyer environmental diligence or managing phase one questions, you can reach out to us at RMA. All right, let's jump in. Mistake number one, treating the phase one like it's an inspection or compliance audit. It's not, but sellers often act like it is. They get guarded, they give short answers, they avoid details. From the buyer's side, that doesn't feel careful, it feels risky. Even when there's no contamination, that tone alone can raise red flags. Mistake number two is saying, we've never had a problem here. Sellers say this constantly. And unfortunately, it's one of the least helpful things you can say. A buyer's consultant isn't asking if you remember a problem. They're asking what was historically done on the site, how materials are managed, and whether there's documentation to support that story. Without records, that sentence usually triggers more digging. Mistake number three, sellers not knowing their own environmental history. Old tanks that were removed decades ago, prior spills that were cleaned up but poorly documented. Former uses no one internally remembers anymore. When people give different answers, buyers don't see normal turnover, they see uncertainty. Mistake number four is poor housekeeping. This one usually catches sellers off guard. Phase one consultants rely heavily on site observations, what they see. Unlabeled drums, stained pavement, abandoned containers, cluttered outdoor areas. None of that automatically means contamination, but it does suggest unanswered questions. And many phase two investigations start because something looked off, not because a release was confirmed. Mistake number five is oversharing without context. Some sellers dump old reports on the table with no explanation. Others casually mention issues that were resolved years ago. Some speculate out loud about what might have happened in the past. Without framing, that information creates confusion and almost always leads to unnecessary follow-up. Mistake number six, letting the wrong people speak. Well-meaning employees, maintenance staff, or managers answering questions outside their expertise can unintentionally create problems. Offhand comments made during interviews often end up documented concerns. Best practice is simple. Pick one or two informed points of contact and prepare them ahead of time. Mistake number seven is ignoring documentation gaps until the buyer finds them for you. Missing permits, incomplete records, undocumented closures. These almost always surface during a phase one. When the buyer finds them first, you lose control of the narrative. Even small issues start to feel bigger than they are. Mistake number eight, assuming any phase one finding automatically means a phase two. Sellers hear recognized environmental conditions and they panic. In reality, many recognized environmental conditions or RECs can be addressed with better documentation, historical records, or regulatory correspondence. Prepared sellers can often stop phase two escalation just by answering questions clearly and completely. Mistake number nine is waiting too long to involve advisors. Environmental diligence touches legal, financial, and operational issues. Sellers who wait until there's a problem usually end up reacting instead of planning, and that almost always costs leverage. And mistake number 10 is underestimating how much perception matters. Buyers aren't just evaluating environmental conditions, they're evaluating you. Disorganization, defensiveness, or mixed answers signal higher overall risk, even if contamination is minimal. So here's the seller's takeaway. Most phase one deal friction isn't caused by contamination. It's caused by uncertainty, miscommunication, and preventable mistakes. Sellers who prepare for environmental diligence the same way they prepare financials, and legal documents tend to keep deals moving forward and protect their negotiating power. Here at RMA, we help sellers prepare for buyer environmental diligence with clarity and strategy, not fear. If you're thinking about selling and want to avoid those common Phase 1 pitfalls before they surface, reach out to us. We're happy to talk.